All right, so I had a request just to kind of go through in a little bit more detail some of the solutions to some of those more advanced problems I had put on the worksheet. Of course, there is that answer key posted, but sometimes people like to see what it looks like to be solved kind of live. So I'm going to do that for you. I'm just going to do a few of them. So we'll start with number 5. So number 5, we've got PbSO4 so it's be lead 4 sulfate. And you're given a situation where you've got 19.5 grams of oxygen within a sample of lead 4 sulfate, and we want to know how many grams of lead we would have. So we're going to take the given amount and make sure you always give it the complete label. Don't just shortchange yourself trying to save some time by not labeling. It catches up with people, and that's 99% of the time how people make mistakes on this stuff. So 19.5 grams of oxygen. Now we want to cancel that unit, grams of oxygen. Now eventually we want to get to grams of lead. But to go between oxygen and lead, we're going to have to go between moles. So first let's go from grams of oxygen to moles of oxygen. And we do that by using the molar mass. 1 mole of oxygen as an atom is 16.00 grams. That gets us to moles of oxygen. Cancel these. Now I want to cancel moles of oxygen, and now I can get to lead because I can compare the mole ratio of oxygen to lead. And that's just by looking at the formula. So we know that we've got in this formula, we've got 1 lead and we have 8 oxygen. Cancel moles of oxygen. So now we're at moles of lead, and now we want to get to grams of lead. So cancel moles. And then again, using the molar mass. And again, I provided you with the chart of all the different molar masses. I recommend you use that instead of your periodic table because there is some slight differences. But either way, make sure you're rounding off to the hundredths on those. So lead is 207.20 grams per mole. And now we just do the calculation across. So 19.5 divided by 16 divided by 8 times 207.20. And that gives us the answer to 3 sig figs of 31.6 grams of lead. Number 7, so we've got some aluminum carbonate, and within the aluminum carbonate we have 4.27 times 10 to the 25 atoms of oxygen, and we want to, from that, figure out how many grams of aluminum. So take what you're given, label it, put it over 1. We're going to cancel atoms of oxygen, and we can go straight from atoms of oxygen. We want to get to aluminum by going to atoms of aluminum, and we can use the ratio within the formula. So we've got 9 oxygen and 2 atoms of aluminum. That gets us into atoms of aluminum. Now to go from atoms to grams, we're going to have to go through moles. Again, using the molar mass. So a mole of aluminum has a mass of, or I'm sorry, not molar mass, my mistake. Using number of atoms. I was a step ahead of myself. Now, that gets us from, from atoms to moles, and now we can use the molar mass to go from moles to grams. And the molar mass of aluminum is 26.98 grams per mole. And if you calculate that across, you end up with 425 grams of aluminum. And the last one I'm going to do is number 14. This one's actually a pretty short one. We're given atoms of nitrogen. And we want to get to compounds of the ammonium carbonate. And all we have to do is use that ratio from the formula. because we can put down atoms of nitrogen in a compound. And we know, just by looking at the formula, that in one compound, we have 2 atoms of nitrogen. So all you have to end up having to do here is divide by 2. So hopefully that helps. If you have any other questions, just shoot me a message.